This meeting go. Call this meeting to order at 9:01. Can we get a roll call, please?
District 1 Supervisor Alejo.
Linda Gonzalez, alternate.
District 2 Supervisor Church.
Leonie Gray, alternate.
District 3 Supervisor Lopez.
No, alternate Lopez.
There we go.
District 4 Supervisor Askew.
Yuri Anderson, alternate.
District 5 Supervisor Adams.
Here.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Here.
City of Del Rio.
Here.
City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Present.
City of Marina.
Present.
City of Monterey.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of Salinas. City of Sand City. City of Seaside. City of Soledad. Ambag here. Caltrans District 5.
Here.
Monterey Bay Air Resource District.
Dave Frisbee, alternate.
Monterey Regional Airport District.
Carl Miller here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Monterey Salinas Transit.
Here.
City of Watsonville. CSUMB.
Nicole Hollingsworth here.
Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you.
Excuse me, City of Greenfield here.
Thank you.
And Sand City just walked in this one. Before we move on, before we move on, we do have an item that we need to add to the agenda. It's more of a time-sensitive item. It's the recognition of the service to this board from Alejandro Chavez. He should be here shortly. So what I would like to do is see if the board is comfortable with doing that, get a motion, vote on it.
Move to add. Second.
First with Lopez, second with Potter. And then when he comes in, wherever we're at, we'll finish that item and then go to the presentation.
Mr. Chair, there needs to be a finding that it's necessary.
That's a second vote.
Well, it can be part of the vote, but that it's necessary because of the information to do it was determined after the original.
Okay, including that.
That language.
Yeah,
Second stands. Yep, second.
all right. Thank you, everyone. Roll call.
District 1 Alternate Gonzalez.
Yes.
District 2 Alternate Gray.
Yes.
District 3 Supervisor Lopez.
Yes.
District 4 Alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5 Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas. City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside. City of Soledad. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. And Chris, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris. Just an update to the board. We'll be leaving roughly around 11 o'clock today. So Chris will be taking over. At this time, I'd like to ask if there are any members of the public that speak on any items that are not on the agenda. Again, I'll ask, is there any member of the public that speak on any items not on the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move to our consent agenda. Any members of the board like to pull any items for the discussion? Is there any member of the public like to speak on any of the consent agenda items? Can I ask any member of the public to speak on any of the consent agenda items? Hearing and seeing none, I'll bring this back to the board for action.
Through the chair, I'll second.
First with Potter, second with Carbone. Roll call, please.
District 1, alternate Gonzalez.
Yes.
District 2, alternate Gray.
Yes.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Yes.
District 4, alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzalez.
Aye.
City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina. Aye. City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas. City of Sand City. Aye. City of Seaside. City of Soledad. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll move on to item 4. Receive a presentation and provide input on the scheduled community engagement activities for the Scenic Route 68 corridor improvement project. Got it.
Here for Bill Sam, the principal engineer at TAMC. And I wanted to introduce for those of you who are not familiar with the Highway 68 improvement project, the scenic corridor. We have some events that are coming up that we wanted to share with you. So, so what we're talking about when we do the Highway 68, the scenic corridor, we're starting at Jocelyn Canyon and going to San Benancio, and the 9 signalized intersections along this corridor are what we're focused on. And we really have 3 objectives. The project purpose and need is rather extensive, but it boils down to 3 things. We want to address safety concerns, we want to improve traffic flow, and we want to connect to wildlife. So if you look here, the wildlife we're talking about is we have, you know, the Fort-Ord National Monument, and then the forest area here in Big Sur, and this road disconnects to habitat, wildlife habitat. So we have issues where animals trying to cross here have been hit, and not only does that affect the animals, but also the travelers and the people that hit them. So there's a couple aspects to this project. So the draft environmental document, the environmental impact report, that's going to be coming out for review. And until that gets circulated, we really can't give you too much details on the project. We've been telling this to the public. We can come back and we'll go through it at some point, but we just wanted to tell you the schedule. But what we can share is that there's going to be 2 alternatives that are going to be studied. And both of these alternatives have wildlife crossing to 3 locations, same 3 locations. And one alternative is going to change the signals to roundabouts. And the other is a signal modification. So we upgrade the signal equipment, and then we widen the road just for a very interim point through the intersection, and then it merges back down. So both of these alternatives don't do any improvements between the intersections. When we get to the details on why, but the environmental impact of that is really what we thought was made those infeasible. So here's a picture of the roundabout we're talking about. It's a single lane roundabout. So this is different than the one that we're familiar with within a Pebble Beach. This is a simpler approach, 1 lane in each way. And these are the exhibits that we'll be having in the upcoming public meetings. And what we've said is, you know, it's always good to look at it here, but no one drives it from a helicopter. So we have 3 locations. So here's the same picture, the roundabout, and this is what you'd see as a driver. And you'll see that, you know, as you get, let's say at the Pebble Beach roundabout, that gets a little bit more complex. So there will be a complex roundabout at Canyon Del Rey in 68. So that'll help the drivers kind of feel for the layout. The other alternative, it doesn't really show it here because it's kind of off the page, but we'll go from 1 lane to 2 lanes. And through the intersection, we'll have 2 through lanes. And then right about here, it's going to merge back down to 1 lane. So what that does is essentially when the light's red, the 1 lane that's coming up can queue up 2 across. And then when it turns green, it discharges 2 across. And then again, this is how it would look for a bicyclist. Let's say, you know, when they're traveling now, they have 2 lanes to their left. So that's the other alternative. Again, we don't want to go into detail. So this is kind of a generic location until we get it out there for the public to review. Now, what is going to be studied? If you look at that second alternative, the widening. So if we just kind of look, this is what a design would look for a widening. And then this is a design that would look like for a roundabout. And if we merge those 2 together and we put a buffer around it, we essentially look at what's called the project area project impact. So we look at all the environmental impacts anywhere within this buffer and identify it in the environmental report. And in another way to look at this is why we put this buffer in. Let's say this roundabout or this modification needs a little bit extra work. We can do it as long as we've studied it. So we've got a little conservative here. And you'll see here for the roundabout, like we have retaining walls, and the retaining walls need some grading. So it's a pretty big area, and we're pretty conservative on the area that we pick, so that if down the road we have to adjust something a little bit, we don't have to go back and do an environmental report. Likewise, when we look at 9 intersections, with the funding constraints, we don't see all of the 9 roundabouts or signal modifications happening at one time. So the project will probably be phased. And the signal modifications, it could be signal upgrades before we get to other aspects of it. But again, as long as it's studied here, and that's what we want to make sure as part of this environmental impact, we did a thorough job, we didn't miss anything, and we're making a good recommendation going forward. So that's what we have these public meetings. So the public hearing schedule, these will be formal events that where the public can come in and I'll get into, we're going to do some other meetings that are a little less formal. But these 3 meetings are going to be Wednesday, November 15th at the Laguna Seca Raceway from 3 to 7. Then the next day, we're going to go to Salinas and the Salinas Armory from 4 to 7, and that will be held in Spanish. So we're really excited to reach out to the Spanish-speaking community and have translators there. And then this is really what will bring it all together on December 6th. We want to have a 3 to 7 event from the Monterey Conference Center. And we hope if you're interested in the project, you either attend it or tell people that you know are stakeholders on the project. So here's some pictures of the kickoff meeting that we had at Laguna Seca, which is a beautiful facility. And these are formal. They're mostly Caltrans' ability to gather information on the environmental document. It's more about, did we get it right? Did we miss anything? If it affects their property, they'll be able to discuss it and say, okay, is your property in or out of the discussions? There'll be another series. I'll be going out from TAMC staff, and that's more about with the stakeholders and trying to build up our champions for the project to understand their concerns, their issues. They may not end up being formal complaints or comments on an environmental document that needs to be different, but based on the information that's there, they may say, okay, I think we should go into one alternative or another, and we're trying to build that information up so that the ultimate decision on which is the preferred alternative can be made on based on something the community will accept. So this is may look a little confusing, but this is like a 20-page guidelines from Caltrans on how a development gets developed or a project gets developed. So we go around here for, sometimes it's been years for this project, and we assess our needs and constraints, and we identify concepts around a couple times. And if you remember back in 2019, we had come to a somewhat of a consensus on an alternative, but then we took a step back again and rotated it around. And now we got to the point where we have two alternatives on the table. We have not decided which one, the roundabout or the signal modification, we feel is better until we look at the data. And that's where we're right here, is we've done the preliminary design and the alternatives, and we're doing the environmental review. Now, after that closes, typically it's at least a minimum of 30 days. We're going to go well past that. We're going to go at least 40, 45 days. So somewhere in January, we will close it, look at the comments received, do a response to comments, and then the preferred alternative will be selected. Now, it's essentially made by Caltrans. Caltrans is here, maybe we could discuss that, but in essence, Caltrans doesn't do that in a vacuum. They want to do it on good data that's provided, but they do need to understand, I believe, more and more what the community likes and dislikes about each alternative. So with that, I will open it up to questions, and I think at least someone from the community wanted to talk about the issue.
All right, let me open up to the board members. Any questions or comments at this point?
Chair.
Yes, please. And then Mary.
Yes, so I'd like to just comment on, make two comments. Number one is environmentally, is there, are you going to take into account sensitivity to cultural areas on Highway 68? And then second is, there was a slide at York Road that was up in, there's a Walden property at the signal light at York Road in 68. And as I just happened to be on the property this past weekend, and there's no signalization for anyone pulling out onto 68. It's like a three-way stop. So anyone exiting that private property, there's no signalization at all. That looks like a liability to me. So I did want to put that out. Thank you.
Mary's next.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doug. This is a great presentation. I was at the first community meeting. I've got a number of comments that we've received from different people throughout the community. And they're so numerous that I'm just thinking maybe you and I might want to just have a conversation about it offsite. It's simple, just from some of the people who attended, things that they felt could make the presentation a little better. There was some concern that there wasn't any sort of formal, here's the presentation and, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. It was more just the conversation. And I don't know, when you said that the first meeting that's coming up is going to be a formal one, if that meant that there will be a real presentation, or if it's going to be the same kind of approach as it was at the first one at Laguna Seca. So I guess that's a question.
Oh, you want me to answer those? Or?
Yeah, oh yeah, please do.
Okay, to get to your point on the cultural resources, that's basically what outlines here. So if we're talking about a cultural resource over here, we wouldn't have studied it, but anything in this area is going to be studied, including cultural. And if we did miss something, so right now we can't talk specifically, this isn't necessarily your road or whatnot, but when the document does come out, that's when we can talk about that. We can bring this back to the board and we can look at it. But I think the best way to do is, if you have concerns, is to go to these workshops where we'll have the plans laid out, we'll have this API laid out. I mean, everything will be very easy to discuss. So I can't go into any details on specifics because they aren't readily available to review. But I think that was your two questions.
Thank you.
And if you notice, one of our people here was at the event.
What was I wearing?
So the two things we learned and we took back from that first event was one, there was some frustration that we couldn't talk about specific project questions, but we wanted to get the momentum going on the project, and we sure did. You know, we had much more people show up than we even thought possible. You know, we were thinking maybe 50 people, it's about 150 people. And so there wasn't a formal presentation, and we've adjusted that. So we did hear a few things. I can go into some more details, but I think those are the big takeaways. And that's what we need here, is to hear from you all what your expectations are about these events without getting into specifics on the project. But what we found is we have these stations set up. And the stations are basically, do you want to talk about traffic operations? Do you want to talk about cultural? Do you want to talk about your property? And we feel that the one-on-one is better than, let's say, a podium like this, and then having people speak to the group, and then people don't feel a connection with the actual staff members. But that being said, we will be doing an overall presentation, and instead of just opening the doors, we really thought it was going to be maybe 10, 15 people at a time. When we had 50 people come at the opening door, and it never was less than probably 50 people, we adjusted. And so this time, I think every hour on the hour, we'll probably say, okay, everybody, here's what we're going to do. Here's the stations. This is what the project is, a little overview without getting any detail, because it's more about listening than it is talking. So that's what we feel is going to get that dialogue.
Great. And would it be sort of a PowerPoint presentation that you would be doing?
Yes.
So, okay, that sounds great. And then I'll just give you some of the other questions that we had just afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to share them here, but if, you know, if any of the members have similar concerns,
Well, I'll
can
go
contact me.
People will, again, some of this will be addressed during the EIR phase. They wanted information on the specific roundabouts. The residents heard that there's going to be construction on the highway, and they don't know the details. They want details. How will the going to say be impacted? How will construction impact the community? How will the education on how roundabouts improve congestion? There was some concern about that. People are concerned about how they're going to learn how to drive through a roundabout. You know, those are the, you know, down at the bottom of the path sort of things. But the one thing that people were concerned about, and I think it's just because of timing, they're concerned about the westbound traffic and how it impacts the school. Because of the incident that we had over there, that people cut through the Troll Park neighborhood at this point, and it's really very dangerous, and they're getting on and off on Portola Drive, and people wanted to know what's going to be happening in that particular area. So if there's anything that we can say to the folks about which parts are going to be done first, I know you and I had a conversation about that. I know you're sort of starting at the outer edges and moving in. I think that kind of information will be helpful to people. And I think, as we know, as many times as you tell them, they're going to need to hear it 3 times before they'll even start to understand what it is that, you know, that we're trying to do here. So, but great job. I'm very excited about it. I am so hopeful that we can find the funding to do all of it. It's just such a thorn. Last question or last comment. When we're talking about the one that's going to be held in Salinas, and I just want to be sure that the outreach really reaches the people who will be impacted by this. Because the folks who are commuting from the peninsula essentially to Salinas are the ones who are having to spend so much time on the highway and less time with their families. So my hope is that the outreach will include something through the hotels, for example, that lets people know in Spanish that there is this opportunity to come and learn about something that can help. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and all of good input. And maybe I'll work on the backwards and make sure I get this. But we are sending out postcards, mailing them out bilingual. We'll have an interpreter at all these events. The Armory was our effort to try to get to the Salinas community. We may have another event in East Alisal area. And we are trying as best we can to get the people where they live and where they work. So that's the reason why we're having it at the Monterey Conference Center. And the last one, we want to outreach again bilingually into the workplaces. And that's maybe where I would come in, or TMC staff or personalize it, but we'll be reaching out as parallel to those 3 formal events. We'll be more talking to people and if there's the hotel industry or tourist industry, if there's some way we can connect to the workers,
Exactly.
yeah, we could do that. So we did do the timing so that people getting off work could go to that. Another point that you brought up is really good is that some people don't have the time to get to these events. So we're going to have a website being developed. It's going to be a virtual workshop, which is going to be really neat. We really want to make sure that it's an easy way to see the information. So instead of, for instance, pull down menus and some people just don't quite catch on to that or connect to that. So you're going to see like a room like this, and there's going to be displays, and you say, I want to talk about traffic. You kind of walk over there. And so it's a very easier way, personal way to go on the website. As a separate effort to this, we are going to put some, we're having some videos and documents generated for our website on how to use a roundabout. What are the pros and cons for roundabout? And we would do that with signals if they weren't so prevalent around. And we'll see if we needed to, but we think roundabouts specifically, people have some challenges with understanding it. So we're going to have a video on how to use it. It'll be bilingual. So I look forward to sharing that with you, but that's separate from this project, but still being done at the same time.
And I'd like to add, so the thing I think would be really important for the community outreach portion would be computer models showing ideally side by side the same types of impacts on traffic, maybe highlighting, let's say, a yellow car, going through each option at the same time and see what seems to work better to give the visual. And then moving forward, why I don't think we'll be able to do it for this set of outreach right now, but at the TAMC event on Monday, the Nature Conservatory had the virtual reality. And I think we really should look on creating a virtual reality program on traveling through roundabouts, because that to me would be very, very beneficial. So as we do different projects throughout the county that incorporate roundabout as an alternative, we already have something set up. But I would definitely like to see which model is working best with the same type of traffic flow and who goes through faster. Personally concerned on the signalization.
That's an excellent. We do have some displays and exhibits that will be somewhat virtual, and that we're going to be flying over. Our consultants did drone flyovers of the intersections, and you'll be able to slide and see before and after alternatives. But I hadn't thought about that, and it was a spectacular, the virtual reality. But maybe driving on a roundabout from a driver's side, because I think some of the things we were going to develop are very easy you understand it, but it's when you're actually in the car. So we'll do that, and then the simulations, Kansas here, we'll work with them.
Right.
To get
And
a feel
I think ideally on a simulation is to be able to have side by side the same car starting off, the same type of impact traffic coming from the sides, and so they can visually see what's moving forward best and what's stopping and what's slowing down. So if that can happen, that would be great.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I can go back one. There was an issue about Portola.
Yes.
And so we do want to work with Caltrans staff, and there is a concern that people get off at Portola when the queue gets back to there and uses the side street, cuts through a school, and then comes back on. So I think that's something we can talk about and work within our exhibits.
Okay, Marina and then Seaside.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair, my question has to do with our public safety partners, knowing that an accident can really stop everybody's life in their tracks in terms of getting from one place to another. Have we consulted with, we know there's a big fire station there. We know that there's a big events out at Laguna Seca. Have we consulted with our law enforcement and public safety to make sure that they're stakeholders? And secondly, I think just taking a look at some of those simulations would be really helpful to bring that point of view. Here's what would happen in an emergency situation. Here's where the ambulance, or here's how it would work. Because knowing how roundabouts work, sometimes it can get real congested and cloggy when you got an accident, especially in the middle of it, knowing that it happened in my town all the time. So my question is, have we engaged our public safety partners? And what is the plan to share how to address an accident if something were to happen in that traffic circle?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Okay, so, yes, they are stakeholders. We went extensively, we worked with the Lorelis Gray Fire Station in 2019, well, it's a couple years ago, actually, when we did public outreach, but we need to re-engage with them. There's gonna be some concerns. A roundabout slows down traffic, and the emergency vehicles are part of that. So I asked our consultant team to do somewhat of a peer review of roundabouts in general. Again, it's not project specific, but what does the community, the fire community have, and what concerns have they had with roundabouts? So we're getting people with boots on the ground, so to speak, and we will be talking to Pebble Beach area to see what their experience has been. So good points, and they are stakeholders, and they will be involved.
So as a raceway, you have a lot of people who come every year, and all of a sudden there's something new here. Like it just seems like I think the stakeholders in that corridor are most informed, but particularly the public safety as well as the racetrack.
And I'll peek a little bit behind the curtain that we are working with Laguna Seca, and they were a big stakeholder, and we are looking to realign the entrance. It won't be part of this project because it's kind of out of our scope, but we're going to make it so that it's compatible. Whichever alternative we go to relocating a fourth leg of Lorelis Gray to have that as the entrance. It wouldn't be the primary entrance still, but a lot better than the existing entrance, which is uncontrolled North Signal. So we have been working with them a lot.
So Mayor, who will be in this, Supervisor Lopez?
That brings up 2 points for me. I think that's something, even though these things, like he just mentioned about the entrance to Laguna Seca, even though that's not part of this process, right? We still would like to know about it, because those are questions, right? So as we talk about it, someone should add in, well, we think we're going to figure this out, but that's years down the road. That way we're not even, we can pass that on, because these are good questions. But what I want to get to is, all of these questions are good, but everybody is not on social media. Everybody's not on the internet. So what are we doing for the people that are not on there? So is there a frequently asked question sheet, in multiple languages that we can just hand out? Because we know, like you just said, people at work, they're not going to go to the meeting, even if at the job site. Right, but we need to put something in their hands so they can answer, some good questions as opposed to all of us.
And that's excellent.
And if I could, we're already ahead of you, so thank you for that reinforcement of what we've already decided. I think it's unique, but we're already working on the frequently asked questions before they're asked. So we know what the questions are going to be, and there is someone from the public, and Dwight's been helpful in asking questions in advance of this. So even though we don't have a plan to review, we do think that's very important to have frequently asked questions to share, so that people can get into, again, the dialogue, and they hear this question, it brings their other questions. So that's a very important part of this review.
I'll just add, before the ends, I heard about the presentation. I understand why it doesn't, you're not doing a full presentation. But these people are driving the roads every day, and they're becoming apprehensive about going to work, whether 6 months now, a year from now, and just have more, we can push more information out. They're being comfortable with it. And like Supervisor Adams said, it's going to take 3 or 4 times for us to say, well, it's a virtual presentation on this website. to make you more comfortable. I'm gonna have to hear that 3 or 4 times, and especially if I'm not savvy on social media or internet. Right, so that's my only point, is to get that to them as soon as possible, the answers to these questions.
Great point. Supervisor Lopez?
Yeah, I just want to mention, kind of in the same vein, I'm getting back to the point about the community needs a request based on best practices discovered over the years of the, if for the Salinas meeting in advertising, if we could be clear that we're gonna offer dinner, right? Typically something simple and wrap and childcare. I think you'll see exponential attendance. Those are the big concerns for somebody getting off and rushing home. And they realize, well, I didn't really get to watch kids. I'm just gonna stay and not to go. So if we can cover those two and advertise that, I think you'll get a lot better attendance from the folks we're talking about, because I know some of those folks are probably gonna come from Gonzales, Soledad, but in order to come up, they're gonna need some of that wraparound, right? And so putting that on the flyer, I think would go a long way.
I think we've tried to get to the East LSL fire station rec center, I think that's the title. And we didn't quite get there, but I think instead of a formal one, to your point, I think it would be beneficial for us to outreach specifically to the South County communities and have an event there, because there is a daycare, or not daycare, but a rec center there available. So in addition to those 3, and again, to the other comments, I'm making myself available, staff will make ourselves available to anybody, any stakeholder group that wants to talk. We're gonna go above and beyond and reach out, because as pointed out, some people are not wanting to go virtual, and we're no longer at the COVID, we can meet in person, let's do it, because that's really where you get connected with the community. So that's gonna be a key part of our public.
And then I'll go to Sandoval and then Chavez. Just to piggyback on that, the participatory budgeting committees that TAMC has been doing that have been held in Spanish and then translation in English. Amazing success on that, and I just see them very, very engaged. So that should be some kind of component as well. Andrew?
Yeah.
And then Alejandro.
Well, I'm not sure since you had issued Firehouse Station, or is that in the pending? Because I'd be happy to help. It's a very active community center for the city of Salinas. And then also, I'm not sure if you're already doing it, but we have a great communications director that's really good about pushing out community meetings. So anything I can do to help facilitate that outreach. Thank you.
All right, Soledad and Del Rey.
My thing would be just to make sure that we connect with the radio stations. There's tons of opportunities on the Spanish radio stations to do interviews. La Movida, Buena, Hoya, all do community programs that they run where they interview folks. They also do PSAs. There's tons of radio stations that I think that folks, when they're driving, especially from South County all the way over to the peninsula, are listening to. And I think that would be beneficial for the outreach portion of it. And there's new ones that are coming along. There's probably a total of 13 Spanish radio stations here locally.
All right.
Yeah, so I agree that the outreach is very important for this, especially hitting the right group. That's absolutely key. Have you thought about something as simple as putting signs along Highway 68 that basically informs them when the meetings are coming up, or websites, because that's your target audience. I mean, you put that at one of those checkpoints, they're going to have enough time to read it because they're stuck in traffic there. So just something as simple as that, if Caltrans allows that sort of thing, I think you would be able to hit that audience to inform them of upcoming events, websites, some of those things we discussed.
So before I go to public, yeah, Monterey.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great presentation to give us the point of input, but I wanted to go back to the slide where you have the timeline of the cycle where the arrows are flipping through, where we have traveled. Yeah. I think what's very difficult for some people is that what I've heard is they're saying, well, which intersections, what's going to happen? So we obviously don't know that completely yet. But I think it's important to go back to the fundamentals of starting with why. We have the research, we know why we started this path to put right out front, what is their gain after this project is completed? So I think when we look back at the science, we found that there was an enhanced travel time. We're not specifically talking about intersections, but I think the overview needs to include what we hope to gain out of this massively large project that is being brought to you so that we can make it safer and make your commute a little less congested. So I think if we key in on the safety factor, then that wins over some of the folks that are apprehensive about the roundabouts. And I think that we need to consistently put out what's the why and what's the gain as we move forward with this project. Even though we can't specifically talk about which intersection of what's it going to look like or how it's going to impact somebody who lives close to it or drives by it, we're not there yet, but highlighting where are those points in the timeline where we will come back to the refined piece and then be specifically talking about it. So I think they need to know where it is, where we'll get the specifics of the real details of the intersections that they are concerned about. So I think if we hit the why, we hit the science results, why we're doing this, and also where in the future in the timeline will it be that they will get more specifics to know the details in terms of the actual intersection they care about, because they're emotionally committed to this. And so right now, I think a lot of people are saying, well, what is this really going to mean? We can't really tell them that yet because we haven't designed the intersection that's going to impact them the most. So I think we need to point out about when will they get the most information they need about the design piece and highlight that somewhere on the timeline.
Now we'll go to Caltrans and then Pacific Grove, and then we'll go to public.
Thank you. So John Olenick, Caltrans District 5, here today representing obviously our district director, but specifically for this topic, I'm also a district's engagement manager. And everything that you all said, it's excellent input. It's things we've been anxious about since the start of talking about our meetings of wanting to fulfill. We know there was a bygone era where we print a thumbnail size ad in the newspaper, show up at a high school gymnasium and wonder why no one showed up, right? That is gone. We meet, Doug, Teresa, myself, and others, we meet weekly. We talk about everything we've talked about here. We early on knew it was really important to have as broad and meaningful reach to the public as possible. We've added our Spanish focus meeting. We're going to have a media events leading up to and during the day of. But everything you said here, we want to do that and more. So the ask is always when you all receive the notice, and you'll be on the top of the list really that receives the notices. One of the best things we could have help with is you have contacts and broadcast emails even beyond what we can think of. So please, when you receive it, we ask that you pass it on as well. And we're working on the social media sites. We're working on the in-person. We're doing boots on the ground. We have folks that are going to be going door to door for some of the businesses in Salinas. We're getting help from nonprofits like SUBA to help us do events like that. We're turning over every stone we can. We're doing the best we can because we know this is a very important project to a lot of people on both ends of the county. So thank you for your input. When the document is released, it will answer a lot of the questions you probably have, the analyses, the discussions, and we want our public events to be very, very important. And that's the way that we'll be able to take that public comment and in a meaningful way give answers. So today's discussion is very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaps, and then we'll go to the public.
Thank you. All good information. I had a clarifying question, Doug. So the way it was presented was you have two alternatives. One is roundabouts, and the other dangerous, like working with the traffic stop lights. Is there a hybrid alternative? Like, do we have to go one or the other, or can we do a mixture of roundabouts and like the other?
I think as long as it's in that area that we study, it's open. So we have any alternative matching of the alternative. It is on the table, and if it's in that area that it isn't exactly a roundabout, it's an alternative of a roundabout or a new design. As long as we've studied it, we can go with that. So yes, we could do hybrids. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, is there any member of the public that can speak on this item?
Yes,
Please go.
yes, as Dwight Stump, and I actually live in Corral de Tierra, so I use Highway 68 frequently and have direct experience with the infamous, 2-hour AM commute and 2-hour PM commute. But the rest of the day of 20 hours is pretty much a non-issue for me, and I think most of the other people. I am a little concerned about some of the information that has already been out for some time that has caused people to get opinions either for or against the roundabouts. And I think Doug had brought up the example that the Pebble Beach roundabout is really a hybrid and is not similar to the roundabouts being proposed on 68. And so just because the Pebble Beach may work in that particular situation doesn't mean that 9 of them over 8 miles that are totally different are going to work. And I think because this has never been done before, as I know, in California or maybe even the US, on putting 8 or 9 roundabouts in 8 miles on a busy highway, I think it really needs to be carefully considered and doing some independent research and not just accepting at face value some of the things that have been put out there. I think when you look at the actual capacities that roundabouts do have, you need to look at the guide of roundabouts that the U.S. Department of Transportation has and see that they do have an actual capacity. And when you get over that limit, it actually makes things worse than before. Also, I think the volume of the traffic is really the problem and not the intersections. And in fact, those of us who are on the highway will have green lights and not be able to proceed. And the backup of the queue that Doug was referring to earlier, that is actually east of San Benicio, backs up way before it even gets to the signalized intersections where it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. So I don't believe that roundabouts are going to really make that much difference in either the moving the traffic through at the peak hours, and it's going to actually make it worse for the non-peak hours for people that have to go through those 9 slowdowns on the busy interstate, or not the interstate, but the highway. The other thing that really bothered me on the project benefits that TAMC had put out was the claim that roundabouts are actually going to reduce emergency response time. And from my perspective, that's totally false, since they're actually going to increase it. And that was verified through talking to the Monterey County Fire Chief. I think you need to consider how it takes a 40,000-pound fire truck, how long it takes to go from 55 to 10 and then back up to speed. And to do that 9 times over those 8 miles is really going to increase the response time. And you compare that to the current system, where the emergency vehicles use Opticon to turn the lights green in their direction and proceed through the intersections with very little, if any, slowing down. I know this increased emergency response time was the main reason that the 4 roundabouts that were proposed by Caltrans in Ventura County a few years ago on Highway 126 was rejected by the 2 cities and the county. And there were documented concerns from police and fire officials, as well as the County Board of Transportation. So if safety is a priority, then I think the response time for emergency vehicles is very critical. So I really, I have other issues with the emissions, and maybe this isn't the time to go through it, but I think the claim for emissions, which everybody seems to be concerned about, doesn't take into the account that all of those 30,000 daily vehicles are going to need to slow and accelerate back up to speed 9 times over those 8 miles every day. And studies have shown that emissions from accelerations are 5 to 10 times more than idling. And from what I've seen on the data, the TAMC claimed that the commute times are only going to be reduced by these roundabouts by 5 minutes So that just reduces the idling time by 5 minutes on a normal peak commute. So
Well, I
there's,
appreciate the input, Doug. We've exceeded the 3 minutes.
all right,
Um,
thank
And
you.
please feel free to send additional comments to TAMC, Sheriff Doug, and Dwight. I'm sorry, Dwight.
That's
Is there
okay,
any
thank
other
you.
any other members of the public with any comments or input? You can ask, is there any other members of the public who provide comments or input? Hearing and seeing none. Doug, thank you for the presentation. We'll now move on to item 5. Receive an update and provide input on the funding proposal for the 2024 Regional Transportation Improvement Program. Yannicka?
Morning, my name is Yannick Strauss. I'm a transportation planner at the Transportation Agency for Monterey County. And today I will be presenting the 2024 Regional Transportation Improvement Program staff proposal. And the clicker works. So I'll start with the program overview. The State Transportation Improvement Program is funded through state and federal gas tax on a 5-year funding cycle. The fund estimate adopted by the California Transportation Commission in August is for fiscal year 24-25 through fiscal year 28-29. Monterey County's share for the 5-year period is $15.515 million. And every 2 years in December, regions submit their project proposals in the form of the Regional Transportation Improvement Program to the CTC for approval in the following, in March of the following year. A little bit about our strategy when proposing projects for the RTIP. When staff strategizes the projects to propose in the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, we target regionally significant transportation projects within the integrated funding strategy, which was adopted by the TAMC board earlier this year. Our goal is to advance projects as quickly as we can and to keep projects on track. We prioritize projects based on all of the potential funding programs and program requirements. Additionally, proposing projects already in the STIP from previous cycles and projects managed by Caltrans provides more flexibility with the funds and streamlines the process. So now we'll review the projects that staff is proposing for the 2024 RTIP. The first is the Scenic State Route 68 Corridor Project that you just heard about. This project previously received $5.4 million of State Transportation Improvement Program funds, along with $2.6 million of Federal Highway Infrastructure Program funds and $640,000 of Measure X. The project also received $1.949 million of Senate Bill 1 local partnership formula funds and $799,000 of Highway Infrastructure Program funds for the environmental phase. The final design phase is programmed in fiscal year 25-26 and in the State Transportation Improvement Program with $23.516 million. So initial estimates for the construction of the first set of 3 intersections is $63 million. And agency staff is proposing to use $6.3 million of Measure X and 6.3 programmed in the 2024 State Transportation Improvement Program as a match for a potential future $50 million Senate Bill 1 Congested Corridors grant in fiscal year 25-26. Next is the US 101 South of Salinas Corridor Project. This project was programmed with $9.989 million of State Transportation Improvement Program funds and $440,000 of Measure X for the environmental phase. Staff is proposing to program $8.036 million of Measure X and $8.964 million of the 2024 State Transportation Improvement Program funds in fiscal year 25-26 to fully fund the PS&E phase. Finally, in each state transportation improvement program cycle, funds are available to the transportation agency for planning, programming, and monitoring activities. And the transportation agency has $512,000 in new funding available for fiscal years 24-25 through 27-28, and $253,000 in fiscal year 28-29. So we are proposing to program 75,000 with 202,000 of existing funds in fiscal year 24-25, $80,000 with 197,000 of existing funds in 25-26, 81,000 with 196,000 of existing funds in 26-27, 276,000 in 27-28, and 253,000 in 28-29. The 2023 integrated funding strategy was adopted by this board in May of this year. The draft 2024 STIP fund estimate was released in June and adopted by the CTC in August. Staff brought the RTIP fund proposal to the executive committee earlier this month and today to the board for your input and feedback. Then we will bring the final proposal with the draft RTIP to the TAMC board at the December board meeting. So that concludes my presentation. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Annika. Questions or comments? Is there any member of the public who like to speak on this item? I'm gonna ask, is there any member of the public who'd like to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you, Annika. Appreciate all the work that you're doing. And before we move on to item number 6, we are gonna back up to our earlier added agenda item, which is to recognize all the years of service that Alejandro Chavez has given this agency. Todd, would you like to start off?
Would you like to me to read this? Would you like to read it?
Oh, I'll read it. I wonder if you want to make any comments.
Well, I just, Alejandro gave me a call late last week, letting me know this was going to be his last TAMC board meeting. And it's a bit of a shock considering he's been pretty much on the TAMC board the whole time I've been involved with TAMC. And has been not just a fixture on the board, but also a great resource just to talk through issues and get feedback about Soledad, and South County, and just experience overall in Monterey County. So I was saddened to hear that you've resigned from the city council and you're no longer going to be on the TAMC board. I'll greatly miss you here.
And before I read this, I would like to provide this as an opportunity for any board members to make comments.
I just second that emotion. As the most senior member of this board, Alejandro, you've been a very, very vital member. I much appreciate it. I'm shocked. You're actually retiring. I'm really surprised, disappointed, of course, but I can certainly understand your desire to move on. Well done, my friend.
I also want to express gratitude. You know, Alejandro and I, we've gone back quite a few years working together under county supervisors. Then, you know, working here at TAMC together on important issues in our communities. But we haven't always been on the same side of issues. We always come from the same place. And when I look at what you've accomplished in Soledad for your community, for being a coach, Lily, transitioning and taking that knowledge into those needs of those kids to safe routes to school and bringing it back to real change through bodies like this, it's inspirational. So I want to thank you for all that you do, and your wife as well. I know you're both stepping aside from very key roles of influence in Monterey County, specifically South County's path, and we appreciate everything you've given and dedicated to our communities, not just the community of Soledad, through your work on this board and others. So it's sad as well. I know I tried to stop you when you called me too, but we appreciate all that you've given, and we could not ask for more, but want you to know that we're appreciative of everything you've done for all of us.
Christina?
I want to echo that. You know, our while we are marinas where we are on the coast and you're down in South County, our borders are porous. And I really appreciate, I've learned a lot from your questions here. You are a senior member. So those of us who still consider myself pretty new here. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness, your lens of equity, and just all that you have done for our county. And thank you so much for being supportive of projects in my area. Open invitation to come over. I was remarking to somebody today that I really like this board. It works well, and it's because of people like you who are willing to be open-minded and collaborate. So we don't have these other jurisdictions may have concerns and fighting over their little portion of money, but you have really set a tone, as Mayor Labar has, that we can work together regionally. And so everything that you have done is so appreciated from the bottom of my heart. You and your wife have done so much to put that lens of equity on things. So while I'm not a town right next to you, I appreciate what you have brought to this board and to our council. So thank you so much.
Any other members? With that, oh, yes,
Thank you.
Mary and then Ian.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you as well. The work that you and Erica have done go back to me with my way. Before TAMC or before my stint on the board of supervisors. And I just always appreciate very much all of the commitment that you've made to ensuring Will County has a really balanced approach to some of the problems that we've always had. So I thank you so much for that and wish you well.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing, Alejandro. Just really appreciate you and thank you so much for your leadership here. And like Christina and Mary said, about showing us the way, just showing us the way and keeping that leadership going. And I heard some new stuff from Supervisor Lopez down there about what you do in your community. And that means a lot when he says it the way he says it. And I just appreciate you because we all know how much it takes to do those things in our community and the impact that we make, right? And we try to make. And it seems as though you and your wife have done that. And so I just want to say appreciate you and thank you for all you have done.
So I'm new to the board, but I'd like to thank you for your community commitment, both in your community and regionally. And just wish you and your wife Erica many happy adventures in your time.
Carl? Yes, on behalf of Monterey Salinas Transit, its board, Alejandro, I've been with MST, it's hard to believe, 23 years now, and almost all of that time, you were part of that, either through your role as aide to the first district supervisor, who was our board chair at the time, and they worked with you a lot, and you acted as the alternate to many of those meetings, and with you getting services established in the South County cities 15 plus years ago, closer to 20 now. And then working with Erica on our partnerships with Hartnell College students, providing free transit to Hartnell College students is very much appreciated and used very widely by those students to help improve their quality of life. Just want to thank you and Erica for everything you've done. Thank you.
South County native. While we do work regionally, we always support our South County. So Alejandro.
Yeah, true state.
Certificate of Appreciation for Alejandro Chavez, representing the city of Soledad on the Transportation Agency for Monterey County. Whereas Alejandro Chavez has served on the board of directors of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, including the Rail Policy Committee for almost 13 years, January 2011 through October 2023, plus an additional 10 years from 2001 to 2010 as Supervisor Fernando Armenta's alternate. Whereas he has served as a Transportation Agency Chair in 2017, during which time TAMC initiated the implementation of Measure X, including forming the Transportation Safety Investment Plan Citizens Oversight Committee, and updated the agency's strategic goals and objectives. So that's what I was doing. Now therefore, be it declared on the 25th day of October 2023 that the Transportation Agency for Monterey County sincerely appreciates board member and past chair Alejandro Chavez's 20 years of dedicated work to improve regional transportation throughout Monterey County. Now you get to say some words if you'd like.
Sure. So really briefly, I just want to thank staff. I think I went through 3 executive directors, 23 years if I recall correctly. Since 2001 as an alternate, I participate quite a bit in a number of meetings here and really learned about what regionalism is and what transportation is. I think that at the beginning, I think there was a struggle between South County and the peninsula. And what I can say is that struggle eventually, by changes of some of the folks that were on the board, really transformed into trying to figure out how we can work on regional projects. And so it took a while, but I think that that transformation of board members and of TAMC, originally, I think Dave, when he started, before I did, I think it was part of Public Works Department where Transportation Agency started. And there has been a huge transformation. I think we've seen the importance of TAMC and the importance of transportation projects on a regional basis and to figure out how to support each other. Everything is interconnected. And so if we don't fix things in North County or things in the peninsula, then those are ramifications for our citizens, our residents in our area, and vice versa. If we don't fix the issues that we have, the safety issues, the amount of ag trucks that we have in South County that really are causing some accidents because folks that are coming through aren't always from South County. It's folks that are traveling, that are visitors, that are tourists, and don't understand our ag community. So I think all of that is interconnected, and it's really, really important to work together as a team. So I'm really grateful to all of you because I think this agency and this board works really, really well together. So I want to thank the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll now get back to work. We'll move on to item number 6, 2026 Regional Transportation Plan Update.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm Alyssa Kuchert, and today I'll be presenting on the 2026 Regional Transportation Plan. And this is an item that would be coming back to you for discussion and actions at several milestone points between now and June 2026, when the plan is scheduled for adoption to meet state and federal guidelines requirements. So the purpose of this presentation is just to provide an overview of the planning process, give you the timeline, and get some of your input on the regional priorities for the 2026 plan. So the purpose of the Regional Transportation Plan, it's a visionary document that provides a foundation for funding priorities over the next 20 years. And it serves as a basis for allocations of state and federal funding. And it is also part of a regional collaboration effort as our plan gets combined with San Benito County and Santa Cruz County into the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the Sustainable Community Strategy produced by AMBAG per federal requirement. So this slide shows how the plan is integrated with the other local, state, and federal funding programs and plans, like the integrated funding plan that Yannicka mentioned. And the RTP supports state and regional and local goals, from supporting economic growth to achieving environmental goals, promoting public health, quality of life, and social equity for residents of the county. So I'll go over some of the required elements of the plan that you see here. First being the policy element. So the policy element describes transportation issues in the region, identifies and quantifies regional needs, and describes the desired short range and long range transportation goals, as well as pragmatic objective and policy statements. The objective policy statements will be consistent with the funding estimates that are described in the financial element. And the policy element will be something that we'll be asking for some input on at the end of this presentation through our survey. And staff has initiated the evolution of goals through building off of our 2022 plan, which was approved by this board last June. And we're also going to remain consistent with the goals identified in AMBAG's Metropolitan Transportation Plan, as well as using the forthcoming 2024 Regional Transportation Plan guidelines from the state. They're updating currently. So some of the updates that staff is considering include a greater emphasis on geographic equity and the consideration of disadvantaged communities, integration of public health and health equity, as well as reflection on goals to prioritize combating climate change, including focusing on climate leadership and climate investment framework. And we also want to directly integrate more of the policy and performance measures reflective in our current projects underway at TAMC, including highway safety projects, recreational and active transportation trail system, Safe Routes to School, regional rail projects, as well as our participatory budgeting program that focuses on community empowerment and community collaboration. So as I said, the end of this presentation will be having an interactive survey, which you can all participate in. And the next TAMC board action on the regional transportation plan will be in January of 2024, where we'll be asking you to adopt the goals, policy objectives, and performance measures that we are currently drafting. So the financial element goes, we will be working on that after the policies implement, and it summarizes the cost of plan implementation constrained by a realistic projection of the available revenues, and it also contains a recommendation for allocation of funds. And the financial element may recommend the development of specified new sources of revenue, and this will also be consistent with the policy and action elements. So we'll be providing a draft project list in April of 2024 and a final list in January of 2025. And here are some examples of projects that are included in the financial element. Finally, the action element describes the programs and actions that are necessary to implement the plan and assigns implementation responsibilities. It may also describe all transportation projects proposed for development over the 20-year or greater life of the plan. And it also considers other construction management, transportation programming activities carried out within the region. So it's also, as I said, aligned with the other elements of the plan. And that sums up the overview. So now we will have survey. So this is a QR code. So you're welcome to pull out your cell phone and possible take a picture. I also have a text option for those who can't access QR, but let me know if it's not working. And then yeah, Carl, yeah. So, has everyone been able to access the survey? Yes. Okay. Then I will share my screen. So as you are taking the survey, I will
You have paper copies of that? The hard one? Is that what's on the website? The little ones, that's right. Oh, okay. Okay.
That's good. I can also get provide a paper copy for anyone.
Yes, do you want to scan before? No, it scans. He has a Google phone. That's what's in the interface. That's
Oh, my goodness, that was a commercial.
I get residuals for that.
Which came up, that's what it, there's no link to this survey. So this is, that's the standard.
Yeah, no, it pops up at the thing.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. But there's no link. Hyperlink.
It's yours?
Yeah, mine.
Yeah.
We only have that bullet one. So
Yeah.
it's not looking-
It does know is Wi-Fi.
Are you logged in on your computer?
No, I'm just on Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Because you could do something if you're also installation.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly do that. It's just for some reason. It's not.
Okay, we like here. We didn't try it on Google. Oh.
You want a paper copy of them? Yeah, this is the quietest we've ever been.
We can either, yeah, I'll be showing them as the responses come in, but we can also go over something once everyone's completed the survey.
I know.
Well, how you can see the live comments coming in. Although somebody named themselves Joe Mama. So, I don't know who that is.
Calling down.
Well,
It's supposed to be confidential.
Well, it's public. Apparently they want free transit services.
Never heard that before.
You'll be able to see the comments and anything you write in there, so.
Everything's better than screws.
That's transit and no charge. There has to be somebody decent.
Yeah. Quick question, the comment portion at the end is kind of separate, right? So everything we've answered before then is already logged in?
Sorry. You mean in terms of,
The survey has a series of questions, and at the very end, it has, was it 9?
comments? Yeah, that's separate from,
Okay, so
that's,
everything else is already logged.
So you don't have
Yeah.
to do 9.
That's what yeah.
you don't have to comment.
There's a complete the survey button below that.
Oh,
You just scroll down to like complete survey.
That's as you.
it's underneath the comments. Gotcha.
It kind of pressures you to make a comment though.
It really does.
I wrote 9.
That's a comment.
That's
Generally, a comment might require a comment.
no comments.
You already did this, Todd.
Yeah, yesterday.
That was very nice.
So yeah, these results will be aggregated and used to determine and shape the policy elements. And this survey is live and will be live and open to the public until November 3rd. And we have some flyers that have the QR code that I displayed, as well as information about the regional transportation plan and a link to our website page that members are welcome to take. And we also have paper copies of the survey in English and Spanish, and those will also be available at the TAMC offices and available to download.
Will you be sending to our jurisdictions so we can post on our Facebooks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And as we're finishing up, if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make, in.
Through the chair, what is the requirement for the email?
There's no requirement to.
There is.
There is.
Name and your email.
Might want to check your survey.
Sorry.
It says it's
I was able to press complete survey without hitting my.
It's only if you want to make a comment.
Right.
Maybe I did.
But that's what I'm saying.
Maybe I wrote it for
Okay,
Okay, it shouldn't be required, but I will.
I was just wondering why, no big deal, but just what information you guys gained other than.
Should be
I send me some stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, our goal with this, so we're using a new it's called Public Input, it's a new outreach platform, and one of the benefits is that we can have a centralized location for all of the outreach data. And then that includes some of the participant information. So the goal is then to be able to provide information about upcoming projects relative to the plan, as well as other projects that TAMC is working on. So the demographic information is to help with future outreach for this plan and others. Okay, does anyone have any questions or survey or anything else?
No. Is there any member of the public who would like to ask any any questions on this item? Is there any member of the public who could ask any questions on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you, Alyssa. Appreciate the presentation. We will go ahead and move to our item 7, legislative update and draft 2024 program. Christina.
All right, good morning, Chair LeVar and board members. Christina Watson, Director of Planning. We have a pretty quick update this morning on state legislative activities from our consultant, Des Curry, up in Sacramento, and I will provide a brief overview of what's happening in DC, and then we will ask for your input on the draft 2024 legislative program and your approval to circulate it to committees for comment and input before bringing it back to the executive committee and this board in January for adoption. So I would like to hand it off to Gus Curry, who is on Zoom.
Thank you so much, Christina, and good morning, Mr. Chair and Directors. Gus Corey, Legislative Advocate, State Legislative Advocate for TAMC. As Christina mentioned, just a very brief report. It was an incredibly busy year. The legislature adjourned on September 14th, and Governor Newsom had until October 14th to sign or veto legislation. I won't belabor all of the bills, but just wanted to bring a couple to your attention. As far as things that are enacted or going to the ballot for next November. So one bill of consequence, we spent a lot of time talking about the Brown Act, and there's one bill that was signed by Governor Newsom. It's Assembly Bill 557. This removes the sunset date of January 1, 2024 to allow us, if we chose, and if we had the unfortunate circumstance of having yet another climate event for the whole board to meet virtually, if there is a state of emergency declaration. So that is now an infinite opportunity thanks to enactment of that bill. No other Brown Act bills had made it to the governor's desk. So that's the Brown Act. With respect to the state budget, the legislature in fiscal year 22-23 had a $97.5 billion budget surplus. We then had a $31.5 billion deficit for fiscal year 23-24. And tax collection was delayed yet again just last week until November 16th. So that extension happened. And the forecast, the early indications are the state's waiting on about $44.5 billion worth of revenue, and that includes personal income tax, corporate tax, and capital gains as well. And we've only received about $17 billion of that balance. And so this is important for several reasons, including our previous conversation about looking at possible one-time money of $2.3 billion that Governor Newsom identified in the May revision that could potentially be used on infrastructure that we're hoping to use a portion of in order to address the 101 South of Salinas project. We've had conversations with Speaker Rivas about this as recently as a couple weeks ago in San Benito for the CTC town hall meeting. Myself and Executive Director Muck, we're in attendance there. And so we'll see what happens with the balance, because if that balance exists in January, then it represents an opportunity, like I said, to use a pretty rare opportunity to address a project that's of regional significance for us. Aside from that, CalSTA, the California State Transportation Agency, announced that it intends to have another round of the Transit Capital Intercity Rail Program, Cycle 7, that will commence in early December. TAMC has been incredibly successful with acquiring revenues from that program to build things like Pajaro Station. And so we're working collectively with the Coast Rail Coordinating Council on maybe putting together a regional ask. And this could be leveraged against your Senate Bill 125 funds, which we received from the legislature this budget year. So with that, I will stop there, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments before we get into the state legislative platform.
Any questions or comments at this point? Please continue, guys.
Yeah, I think just that's sort of a snapshot. And I think both Christine and I just wanted to be able to walk the board through the initial draft of the state legislative platform. Now, mind you, we always take into consideration what happens with the state budget. That does not get published until January 10th. And so we'll make any modifications as necessary. But, for all intents and purposes, this version has been vetted through the executive committee, and Christine is going to walk us through it.
Yes, thank you, Gus. So before I get there, I want to give a brief federal legislative update. Y'all probably been listening to the news. It's a little bit chaotic over there right now with the House of Representatives still without a speaker, 22 days and counting. So they are not able to move any funding bills. They're in a holding pattern. But the Senate is going to be taking up the fiscal year 2024 Transportation and Housing and Urban Development Appropriations Bill, colloquially known as the THUD bill. And so that's coming up soon as part of a minibus appropriations. That bill does currently include a $1.8 million earmark for the Pajaro Prundell G12 corridor project, thanks to Senator Padilla. So we're hoping that that will make it through the process and be signed into law, and then we will be able to get that money over to the county to build that project. Congress has until November 17th to do the appropriations bills. It seems quite unlikely that's going to happen. So they're probably going to have to do another continuing resolution by that date. In the meantime, we have been working with our representative, Jimmy Panetta. He sent us a support letter for our application for the Protect Grant Program, which I don't remember what that acronym stands for, but it has to do with environmental resiliency to climate change. And we are looking for money for the Elkhorn Slough Corridor Climate Resiliency Project. So we are really grateful to Representative Panetta for that support letter. He also secured for this agency an earmark last appropriations bill for the US 101 Spence Road Auxiliary Lane Project, which is an early phase of work for the US 101 South of Salinas project. That project is currently under construction. For anyone who's been on Highway 101 lately, you are aware of that. And they're looking to finalize construction in December. So we are working with the Congressman's office now to set up a news event for December 15th in the afternoon. Not yet confirmed, but when it's confirmed, we'll be letting everybody know. It will be a good celebration. All right, so moving on to the 2024 draft legislative program. It starts on page 119 of your packet. It shows the changes that were suggested by our legislative consultants and discussed and edited further by the executive committee on October 4th. I'm not going to walk through every edit or every item on this program. It is not in priority order. But for the state program, we don't have any major changes. We just have some clarifications and some sort of explanations of some of the items, further information to help the when we present this legislative program to our representatives in Sacramento. It's nice to have a little bit of detail so we can explain what the board is looking to achieve with our legislative priorities. And we empower with the adoption of this legislative program, we empower TAMC staff and Gus in his conversations with legislators and administrative folks in Sacramento. On the federal side, we did rearrange the priorities a little bit just to kind of put all the funding items into one priority. So there's not anything that was taken out of the program, even though it looks like it was taken out. It was just moved to a different place in the program. And then there were a couple of things that were added to the program as well, just clarifications and some language to help TAMC be more effective with state funding. I mean, federal funding for transportation. So I'm happy to take any comments, input, and request your approval for circulation of committees at this time.
Thank you, Christina. Board members, any comments or questions? Input? Is there any member of the public could have any questions or comments on this item? Again, I'll ask, is there any members of the public who have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing and seeing none, I'll bring this back to board for action.
Approval of the draft. Second.
First with Potter, second with Chavez. Roll call, please.
District 1, alternate Gonzalez.
Yes.
District 2, alternate Gray.
Yes.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Yes.
District 4, alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzalez.
Aye.
City of Greenfield.
Aye.
The City of Kingston.
Aye.
City of Marina.
She stepped out just.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. We'll now move on to reports from our transportation providers. We'll start with Caltrans.
Hello, everyone. Again, John O'Lanick, Caltrans District 5 here for Scott Eads, our district director. I'm glad to speak a little bit about some of the events and activities going on within our 5 counties of District 5, our 33 cities. We have a federally recognized tribal government, so lots of things going on within our communities. But just want to make a brief mention about some of the engagement work to carry on a little the theme of this morning with the Highway 68 discussion about engagement. We really have so many projects that are in varying stages of development where it's important for us to start the meaningful engagement now. That's been a goal of ours for the last few years, especially to take the efforts we've already learned through maybe even our early boots on the ground discussions with the community, and now take them and apply them into projects as they develop. And just looking around the room today, I was just reflecting on all the different things that are happening. I've been working with Councilmember Dury and had lots of time working with Supervisor Adams, and there's many more coming up. We have a project on Highway 218 and Seaside, looking forward to working with the mayor on being able to reach the community and share with them, be transparent about the projects that we have going on in the district. So you'll be hearing more from us for reasons of engagement. So just want to share that that's a priority for our district, priority for our district director, for us to report that information. Want to share, also express a little appreciation and thanks for the event that happened on Monday in Moss Landing regarding the Oak Point Slough. It was a nice opportunity to get together. Our Scott Eads, our director, was there and be able to, see and talk about and celebrate the continued effort that needs to happen for highway in this area. The efforts happening now are feeding off the good work that we got to do a few years back with AMBAG and Heather's lead to develop a resiliency study. And now we're taking that and using the money and other opportunities in the kindness and efforts from Assembly Member Addis to take that and study some more and find out what are the feasibility alternatives that we can go forward. Ultimately, to find funds to develop what would be a correct project for that. So again, thanks for that opportunity. And then lastly, and of course, open to questions and comments afterwards. Lastly, I just want to share a little something from a statewide news and perspective. That the California Highway Patrol has kicked off an effort with the Office of Traffic Safety itself, OTS. The CHP is developing an e-bike, electric bike safety program. The statistics of e-bikes that are finding themselves in collisions, you can just imagine and think about it, with the assist and the additional speed, that the collisions would be more frequent. In 1 year, I think from 2021 to 2022, it more than doubled statewide the amount of crashes on top of the already many bicycle collisions that exist. So the CHP through Assembly Bill 1936 has kicked off this e-bike education program, public program, stakeholders. So as we receive information, we will pass it on through TAMC staff, probably through the technical advisory committee groups, to make sure that reaches all of you. So that's just a few things going on within the district. I'll pause and happy to take any questions or entertain any comments.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you for the update. We appreciate it. We don't have one from the airport, do we? Okay, we'll move to the.
Comment was on earlier, but I don't see it.
Oh, there you go.
I'm here.
No, we're going to the Monterey Peninsula Airport.
That's
that Dave?
Carl Miller. Is that iPhone?
Oh, Carl, go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is my first meeting. What do you require of me?
Short and sweet. How's it going at the airport?
It's going good. We're moving forward with our development plans for a new terminal. We're trying to arrange funding. We will be adding a roundabout at Road and Olmsted as part of that remodel project. We just opened up our fire department and we'll be relocating the hangars at the end of the month. They'll be opening up and people will be transferring their planes.
Excellent. Any questions for Carl?
I just comment, I'm glad to see the airport district is showing up.
Carl, you know, it's a really big shoes for you to fill here, but it's been important that we had representation. Glad you stepped forward. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll move on to Monterey Salinas Transit. Carl?
Thank you, Chair. 3 items. Monday, October 30th, MST will be cutting the ribbon, restoring services to Santa Clara County from the Salinas Intermodal Transit Center to the Gilroy Transit Center. Stops at Salinas Transit Center, Prudendale Park and Ride. That's beginning October 30th with 4 weekday round trips. We'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Salinas Transit Center at 110 Salinas Street on Monday, October 30th at 8 a.m. early. Light breakfast and coffee and the coveted MST Transit swag will be provided. A second event will be held up in Santa Clara County at the Gilroy Transit Center at 7250 Monterey Highway in Gilroy. That will start at 10 a.m. and we'll have Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren and Assembly Speaker Rivas will be in attendance to kick that service off. So that is a service that is funded, allocated by the state, federal funds allocated by the state to MST for this project, as well as an agreement with the Santa Clara DTA is helping to fund this project. Secondly, we were happy to receive last week $507,000 of Clean California grant money to do refreshing and repair and beautification at the Marinas Transit Exchange, as well as installing replacing 19 bus shelters and trash receptacles around Monterey County, and beautifying up to 56 existing bus stops, including trash cans, graffiti removal, landscaping, wayfinding signage, curb painting, bench replacements, and that sort of thing around stops around Monterey County. So that was good news to get that. And then finally, on Saturday, November 4th and Monday at 10 a.m. and Monday, November 6th at 6 p.m., MST will be holding public scoping meetings to develop site selection goals for a future bus maintenance and operations facility to serve Salinas, Northern Monterey County, and parts of the Salinas Valley. So this is part of our public process to do that. Those are in-person meetings at our Mobility Service Center located at 15 Lincoln Avenue, downtown Salinas, adjacent to both the Salinas Transit Center and the Intermodal Center. That concludes my update.
Thank you, Carl. And where public transit grows, communities grow. Wow. Well,
That's a flashback. That's a 1990s flashback.
it is, isn't it? From one of my first MST conferences. That was the tagline.
And some of that swag, you got one of those buttons.
I'm sure I do. All right, we'll move to Monterey Bay Air Resource District. David?
Hello, good morning. Just a few updates. Our electric vehicle incentive program, we had $350,000 set aside for that, offering incentives to purchase electric vehicles in the 3-county region. We've completed with 155 incentives and 24 low-income applicants. Our electric bike program is continuing. It's proceeding very slowly. We've had 9 applications since, or 9 completed projects since July. So that's not it's $500 per incentive. So and it's only offered to low income applicants. So we're gonna have to reassess that and see if we can somehow improve the incentive to get people to bikes, or to revise how where we're putting the funding. Our motor vehicle emission reduction grants was heard by our board and adopted by our board this past month. Board approved several projects for partial funding in Monterey County. One is for an electric bus for MST. There's funding for completion of the King City roundabout at Broadway in San Antonio. There's funding for a roundabout at Laurellis Grade and Carmel Valley Road. Carmel by the Sea is going to receive 2 Ford Lightning electric trucks, and Monterey Airport is going to receive 1 electric truck, Ford Lightning as well. And then our board also adopted or approved the completion of the bike trail in Sand City. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any questions? All right. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Mary.
sorry, David, but could you please repeat what it was that was going to be happening at Lorella Strait and Carmel Valley Road?
The county's looking at building a roundabout.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying, in my dreams, I heard an electric charging station. So be it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So. Is there any member of the public that speak on any of the reports? You cannot ask, is there any member of the public speak on any of the reports? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move to item 9, reports on these will attended by board members. I did attend the Coast Rail Coordinating Council on the 20th in Santa Barbara. We were fortunate to have Deputy Secretary from Cal SDA, Chad Edison, in person to give us an update on what the state's progress. And Andy Cook from Caltrans Rail Department. Is there any other board members that went on any trips? Seeing none. Executive Director report.
Right, thank you. I'll try to be quick. I'd like to start off by congratulating Alyssa Winter. She was just promoted to Transportation Planner this month based on all her fantastic work. So congratulations. John Olenek mentioned we had a really fantastic event yesterday where Assemblymember Don Addis and Senator John Laird were in attendance along with Supervisor Glenn Church and our Chair Michael Barr, all making comments in addition to Scott Eads from Caltrans on the $1 million they secured from the state budget for Highway 1 Elkhorn Slough climate resiliency. We have already submitted for a state grant, wanting to leverage those funds to pursue a Protect grant to fully fund what's called a planning and environmental linkages study. And the point of that is to start the environmental process, but really it's to get all the partners and stakeholders of that very sensitive area together and work on solutions. And then work on project initiation document, which is the requirement for Caltrans to move into the project phase. So very excited about the $1 million to get us started on that. Just got news this morning that speaking of federal funds, that the Federal Department of Transportation awarded TAMC $640,000 to implement our Vision Zero program for a comprehensive safety action plan. So congratulations to Doug and Yannicka who worked on that grant application. So we'll be working with the jurisdictions throughout the county to implement that. And then I'll conclude just a reminder that there's no TAMC board meeting in November. And our December board meeting is on the 6th. So it's the beginning of the month. And it will not be here. It will be in the Cayenne room. So we won't have the high security barrier at the doorway that you have to get through to make it to the meeting. So please join us there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Todd. There will be a November exec meeting and rail policy.
Correct. And bike and tech.
And bike attack. All right, any announcements or items for future agenda items from the board members? Hearing and seeing none, we'll adjourn this meeting at 10:50 a.m. Have a great day.
Nice.